Welcome to the Moho Session hashtag. We're taking it on the road.
Good morning. We are sitting here on sunny Portsmouth. It's absolutely divine sitting here. Country on the Coast Festival run by the fabulous Miss Hannah Roper. And we are here with the UK-CMA Board of Directors. I'm going to say that. So we thought we'd just come together to have a discussion about the UK-CMA all at once, because they're not all in the one place at the one time. And just so that people can understand it a lot more, and just because the UK scene is an amazing scene, and just we need to talk about it and shout about it, develop it, promote it, and what's the other word?
Unite.
Yay!
I was waiting for that.
We need to practice that.
It's a little early in the morning for quiz questions.
That wasn't a quiz question. It was the worst I remember. So my first question, I suppose, I want to take it right back to even before the idea was born, and what the kind of, I suppose, the vision for it, and what made you decide we need something extra, because there's just a place for something extra here.
Yeah, I think it goes back probably to as lockdown was beginning to happen, and Morag and I were at C2C, and the Americans were going home, Shires got promoted to main stage, and the vitriol that was on social media against them because they were British or UK just seemed wrong, because they're good. And being on main stage shouldn't be about where the hell you're from. It should be, are you good enough to be on main stage? And that was the first spark. And then through conversations with the likes of Geoff and other artists, and with Johnny Brick, we started to think, well, yeah, we need to do something for the UK scene. But the second trigger came 2022, when a number of artists got ripped off effectively by a firm promising them sync deals, selling their music to radio channels, selling their music to TV programmes, etc. They asked for £1,000 up front, which artists paid for, and then nothing happened. And what struck me was, that's unfair. Where do they turn? There is nobody that represents the UK country singers. And again, through conversations with a number of people, with Geoff, with Johnny, we knew something needed to be done, because something needed to be there. And then you start to look around, well, yeah, we all agree something needs to be done, so why aren't we doing it? And it's, who's going to organise it? And me, like a muppet, suddenly felt, well, I've got time, I'm retired, I know how to organise things, because my business careers, I've always been an organiser. I just helped the South West local authority pension funds pull together. So I knew I had the experience to do it. So then it was a case of finding willing people. And most people are going to think, I asked Morag.
Morag's laughing there, willing.
Morag was the last member to join. In fact, the first one was Geoff.
Morag wasn't joining.
But so Geoff came on board, and then we started to look for other people. Johnny Brick came on board to help, and then we were looking for someone who knew about festivals and who was an organiser, and the bigger festivals haven't got the time to do it. Not that she has the time, but I spoke to Hannah, and actually getting Hannah on board was an absolute joy. She's nuts. You say something, and she goes, whoa, and it's done. But we needed someone behind us to organise things, and Morag and I worked together.
You just worked together, is that all?
Well,
We just worked together, is that it?
We started working together.
We started working together in 1997. And Morag is a tremendous organiser. She's disciplined. She gets...
I like my lists.
She likes her lists. All the crazy ideas that I might come up with, she puts into reality.
And reins back.
And I knew if we had someone like Morag on board, things would get done. Because this isn't something you can do on a whim. We have to run it as a business and run it properly. if it's going to be sustainable long term. So I suppose getting to where we are has been at least 2-3 years in the making, in thinking it through, developing the ideas. And when we first got together as a board, it was, what do we want to do? Well, if we're going to make UK country bigger in the UK, it's got to be, we've got to raise the standard of the music we produce, the songwriting, the physical stage presence to grow artists. And we've got to bring people together, because this isn't about competition, it's about cooperation and building that community.
Just as you say that, this was just something I noticed yesterday, like looking at like the Texas takeover yesterday with the American artists, and 16-year-old Peyton Riley, when she came up and performed, it was like, hello y'all, and she just was like this kind of like such a confident performer. It looked like she'd been doing it for years. And I was just like, and I looked at that and I thought, and then 21-year-old Peyton Riley came up and it was like, she looks like a confident performer of over 40. And I was just like, and then I looked at like some of the UK people, like Rhiannon Page, I mean, she commanded that acoustic stage yesterday. She opened her mouth and people were like, well, what's that? But like, it just got me thinking as to the difference in culture of like American artists, because they just come over and they're just perform. Whereas, is there something of confidence, or is it just like they feel they can't do it?
I got some thoughts on that, actually. I think two things. First, I mean, obviously, it's no secret that the American personality and the British personality, generally speaking, are different, and confidence and outgoingness is the definite that. And I don't think we should be ashamed or afraid of that being our personality. Sometimes I think some people can overplay what they're not, or try and be something they're not and be overconfident. And I think one of the key things about UK country and what's emerging is actually identifying a different thing. It will be different. This is not how can UK artists be like American artists. American artists are fabulous. We all love many, many of them. UK artists will be a different thing. And I think part of, for me, the UK-CMA's mission is to make that thing, first of all, identifiable, but also totally respected and accepted, which it should be. The second thing, and Victoria and I are both involved in education, particularly in music. In the UK, we have lost a massive amount of music education in schools, and it's continuing. And it's not just music. Drama has been attacked, and arts is under attack.
Yeah.
In some way, I'm not sure, it's clearly not just us that needs to address this. It needs to be addressed on a very broad factor. This can't be, not everybody is a mathematician or a scientist. There are artists, there are other, all sorts of other trades and things that we need to support. I know both Hannah and myself have been involved in outside of the music scene in things like modern apprenticeships and that kind of stuff. And I think there's a real job to be done to support young artists right from school level, not just relying on parents who can afford to send their children to peripatetic teachers and teachers outside of schools, but actually in schools, because that still does happen in America. If you look at CMA Fest, that's what CMA Fest in Nashville is all about, is raising money for education in schools. So that's, for me, finding some way into that avenue and improving the situation. I think part way, at least, it answers what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, because I remember, like, throughout COVID, the government were always saying artists need to retrain into something else because, well, you've not got your lifeblood, so you need to retrain. And then it was like, well, and then we did lose a lot of good artists that actually, because they couldn't afford to make music and they couldn't afford to gig, and because obviously COVID was...
Clearly, I think the messaging there was a bit too rapidly put out, let's say, in as much as artists are creative people and they will find a way. And they very quickly found a way through Zoom and things like your show and the things we did with Songs of Stories and lots of Live in the Living Room, lots of other people thought, okay, and DC, was instrumental in bringing a lot of those things together technically, because creatives are creative and they'll find a way. Yeah. And what was missing perhaps in that was that way of actually making that pay, I suppose. And I don't think that's impossible. I don't think that's an impossible thing. Hopefully, obviously, we'll never face that scenario again.
But I was just going to pick up on Geoff's point, and it's something that Hannah, I know, is very passionate about. In for the young 14, 12-year-old, where do they go to learn and write with people? There is nowhere. Unless their parents are very rich and will pay to go on professional things. And that's one of the jobs we can do. That's why we set up the academy.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, Hannah's driven the whole programme on that, but that is fundamental. At the moment, we need to put in the right safeguarding things to be able to do it for under 18-year-olds. But that's something we will do. But it's designing that programme for everybody within the business, because nobody knows it all. There are different programmes, whether it's songwriting, record production, stage management skills. How do you plug a board in on stage between sets? All of those kind of things people need education on. And if I can remember for my video channel speaking to a lass, I won't say her name, she'd just come home from school and she was still in a school uniform. And there were so many things that she wanted to learn, but there was no word for her to learn.
And I think coming back to your original question as well, and linking it with what Geoff has said, in terms of the confidence that we're seeing, I think a lot of that comes down to empowerment. If we as a UK-CMA can empower our UK artists to own the UK genre, help define what that genre is, and empower them to learn, to develop, they're naturally going to grow in confidence. And the best thing about the UK-CMA, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that we are here to serve all country artists, whether you are a young person just starting out, whether you have been doing this years, or whether you are, really flying in your career. There is something for you in the UK-CMA, whether it be the Academy, whether it be networking with industry professionals, whether it be, having that community, because I think that's been the other thing that was one of my motivations for joining the UK-CMA, was there was a lot of secrecy is a bit too extreme, but a lot of whispering and a lot of how did that happen and how did that person, and no one was sharing and collaborating. And there is genuinely enough room for anyone. So we want to be able to put across that culture of collaborate with your fellow country artists, be with them, learn from them, share the highs, share the lows, because that is what is going to get you longevity in your career and allow you to keep powering forward when it gets really tough, because it's going to get tough. So, I think there's so much that we can offer. We are still in the infancy of the UK-CMA, and I think we agree that we intentionally didn't go massive, big bang too soon, because we want to make sure that we are here for a very long time and that we set up the infrastructure for others to take over, and this just to continue to grow and grow and grow. Probably because I've now taken over and said my piece, I think we're going to have to go back and organise my festival.
Before you actually go, I wanted to say, yesterday that we were talking to a lot of artists, and we were all saying that everyone needs a Hannah Roper.
I don't think my husband would agree.
The UK-CMA needs more Hannah Ropers, because you're not you are inclusive to every single person, whoever they are.
Yeah.
You just everyone, from the person buying the ticket to the artist to the press, and you're running about just making sure that everyone is okay, and your passion and your passion for it all, and your passion for educating and making people, empowering people to feel more confident is just something I think the UK does. The UK scene just needs more Hannah.
Thank you. Well, as I kept saying to people yesterday, if everyone else is okay, I'm okay. It's when somebody is not okay that I'm not okay, and that's why we all do what we do. But you guys carry on chatting, and I'm going to go and organise the festival.
Thank you, Hannah. Now I'll ask you, Morag. I know. Okay, well this is going to be fun, isn't it? I'm going to say, what was your inspiration for joining? But you did say that you didn't really want to join. So.
I didn't really want to join, mainly because we had retired to go and do the
Fun things
that we love.
Yes.
But country music is one of the things that we love, and I love coming to these events and seeing the UK artists. I hadn't, to be honest, heard of a lot of the artists, certainly not live, never seen most of them live that are performing this weekend. And it's been fantastic so far, and I'm looking forward to today. But helping them grow and speaking to a lot of the artists, not just this weekend but at previous weekends, about how frustrating it is, how they don't know where to go, how they see things happening and they just don't know who to turn to. And yes, there was an element of, well, I'm kind of living with it, so I might as well embrace it. But I am loving it. Well, it's true.
Can't beat them joining.
Well, exactly. It was going to be there, so I might as well just...
She's loving it so much. 7 o'clock this morning, we're in the bedroom at the hotel. She's on the computer, sending out invoices to people and writing up things for tomorrow's meeting.
Well,
So-
I'm a bit like Hannah in that you pick it up, you touch it once, you deal with it, and it's done. Rather than pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. So... most of the stuff, thankfully, that I get to do, I can pick up, deal with, and move on.
So I'm going to ask Geoff now. What was your... what was your, kind of, I suppose, the motivation, obviously, what thing we've discussed about. But for you personally, what was your motivation to go, I want to be on the board, I want to be in this from the beginning, start it up and like develop this scene?
Well, John's very persuasive, obviously. Thing one.
John, it seems to be all your fault, really. Like, everything's...
Like most things in life.
Oh, it's all your fault, John Finch.
In all seriousness, though, it's. I remember I tend to keep important things that people have told me over the years, and they sort of sit with me. And there was someone I used to work for donkeys years ago who said, there are three people, three types of people. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, those who wonder what the hell happened. And he said, you should always know in life which one you are. And all the way through, I've always had a double life as a musician and also somebody who works in tech, in AV, particularly in audio video. And all through my audio video career, I've been interested in teaching. So I've been a professional teacher in that industry for years and years and years. And part of that is bringing on young people. Not just young people, actually, but young in as much as their experience level. I was speaking to a guy on our stand yesterday who said he hadn't picked up an instrument for decades, though he played in his youth, but he just started tinkering around with his guitar again, and then someone booked him a slot on an open mic without him knowing, and he turned up full of fright, but had a go and instantly fell back in love with it, and now he started to sit down and write his songs. So that's somebody who has very little experience in performing and writing and all that, but is more senior in years. I'm not going to put an age on it because that would be rude and I don't know. But certainly someone of later years, and that is still a young person in the scene, in my view. And there is so much to learn. The music business is a business. That's why the word is there. Not all creative people are very comfortable with the business side of things. And one of the things that's common within the board is that we all have had strong business experience and background, and that's why, as Hannah was pointing out, that we've always taken the view that what we're not doing is building an association for us for next year. We're building an association for a group of people in 5 to 10 years' time. So in terms of all the basics, like the legal setup, the accounting, the tech, and everything has been set up with a view of longevity, because this is going to be a big and long job. So my motivation, to get back to your original question, is first of all to... as someone who's been, a gigging, performing, recording musician for decades, to bring whatever I could out of that and my teaching skills and tech background to help the talent that's in this scene. Over our years in this scene, we've met so many talented people. You just think in the background, I love what they do here and here and here. I wish they could just do that little bit. And that it's providing that education so that they have the access to know, maybe if I do that little bit, we can crack this next thing. This is... And the other thing I would say is that it doesn't always take someone who's reached A-list status to be able to help other people.
No.
There are people who have been doing this for decades, quite happily working clubs and working all sorts of other at the scene, who have learned all sorts of things that they can partake to people new in the scene. A friend of mine met up with a very A-list producer a few years ago, and he reckoned that if you have everything you need, the looks, the youth, the talent, the writing, the production, and absolutely everything, you have about a 1 in 10,000 chance of making it in this business.
Wow.
But I think what they're talking about there is making it to the A-list, making it to the household name kind of status. But there are all sorts of strata below that we can deem as success, that we can learn from. And there's a lot of people in this scene who are already in those kind of stratas that I think there's a conduit to bring that together to those who are still working on that kind of stuff, to as a whole scene make something that is really enviable and really respected and cracks the problem that John first started out this conversation with, that we saw with the Shires back then. Because, as he said, they are an A-list act, in my view, by any standard, and they should be regarded as such. And so should a lot of people in the UK scene.
So my next question kind of follows along. Since you've launched, there's been a lot of, how can I say this politely?
Go for it.
So I need to say it politely. There's been a lot of people going, well, how are you going to help me? What are you going to do? I mean, what's the UK-CMA here for in the first place? And what's the difference between you and the other organisation that is within the UK? So I suppose my proper question, or the most polite way of question, is what is the UK-CMA going to do from now on? What are the steps and what are you focusing on primarily this year to grow?
Okay, two or three things. One is we need to continue to grow our membership, because the more members we've got, the bigger our voice is in terms of the things we want to do. I think the Academy is going to be a vital step, particularly for those members that will accept it and think, yeah, there are things I need to learn, and where do I do that? And surprisingly, I think I've always thought songwriting would be a thing that people love, but actually it's, well, how do I deal with my PRS returns? How do I deal with social media? How do I find gigs? How do I get on festival lists? Well, we can do that, and those are things we do. And what we're trying to do is very different to the other organisation, because we're not promoting gigs per se. We're trying to help the artists and be somewhere where the artists can turn to. I think longer term, and this is a stepping stone business, longer term we want to get a fair representation for UK artists within country music. It's very disproportionate to US market. So we've got to get more of the wider country music fans listening to UK artists. How do we do that? Two ways. One is to get UK artists supporting major US tours. And we have to work with other bodies and with other management companies and the people who promote these things to get UK artists on the list. And there's a lot of plus points. Why? Because it's cheap to have UK support if you're organising a tour. We've got to get more radio plays. How do we get more radio plays? We're upping the quality of the artists and getting followers and fans because they see more UK. It kind of this is a long-term plan, but it's you do it a little bit at a time. Those are the things where we're working to up the quality, but also build the comfort and to build the community where we can help each other as well. There's so many little things you can do to help. So I guess that's what's in our mind over this year. Getting people on board, convincing the cynics of what's in it for them. It is one thing. My question has always been is, what are the risks of joining?
Ooh.
And I can't find any risks of joining. We're not going away as an organisation. It's a non-profit. Every penny we make is powered in. The directors, for example, don't take any money. But where we're doing things and we employ people in the industry, we also have agreed that we will pay them at the going market rate. Because you cannot keep asking favours of people. If they're willing to volunteer, fine, we'll take volunteers, and we need volunteers. But if we're going to employ a sound engineer to run a sound engineering course, we've got to pay them. If we're going to employ an artist to do a songwriting workshop, we should be paying, and not paying them on the cheap, but paying them at least the musician's union rate. So those are all the things that we should be trying to do. So, yeah, we get quite passionate about it. The board's done all the work for nothing so far, and we'll continue to do that.
It's an enormous amount of work that you've done. Like,
But also, over time,
And there's still a lot to do.
this is the members' organisation. They will vote, they will pick us as a board. Yes, it's our pet project so far, but it's got to be a long-term sustainable business, and that means the members have to own it and ultimately run it.
But we've only been going, 2 months, less than 2 months, and we've already reached out, not just to our members, but to the wider audience, artists, industry professionals. What is it they want from us? Because, yes, we have our ideas as to what we want, but it's not our organisation, it's the members. So we will be governed and driven by what they want. So we put out the survey, we've had a lot of feedback, which is why John was saying that maybe the songwriters isn't necessarily the way to go at the moment. But, that's, get involved. It's your organisation. We just happen to be the ones that are running it at the moment.
See, I think there's a lot of people have a lot of different, I suppose, opinions on what they want and what is needed. So I suppose how do you as an organisation take all these ideas on board and form a plan that, because you can't keep everybody happy, but form a plan that's going to work for the UK country?
Start with the most popular and work our way down in terms of the subjects that people want covering. And, recognising that not everybody's a member now, so some of the courses that we're doing now, we will aim to repeat in the future, because you've got to keep, and there'll be little nuggets that you pick up this time that you pick up something different next time, and different people bringing that together. So we've got a panel meeting on Monday on, what was the best piece of advice that you got starting up, or what do you wish you'd been told when you were starting up? We don't have the answers to that. That's what, we're bringing people together to have that discussion on Monday evening.
In terms of education, particularly, we use a term. There are lots of weird technical terms for the stages of education, but the one I like the most is, at the moment, I think a lot of artists don't know what they don't know. So the next stage is you actually start to frame out what it is that they don't know and what's going to be most useful to them. And part of the way, we have a lot of ideas on that. We've spoken to countless artists and industry professionals through the last, the forming of the organisation to pick up the general themes of that. But other situations present themselves that we can react dynamically to. For example, when new festivals or events appear, one of the things we'd like to be in a position to not say, do this, don't do this, but at least give them some kind of confidence level in a new organisation that might pop up. We have all been in a situation in the corporate world where we can look into things like company registrations, director registrations, insurances, and all this kind of licenses and stuff. And if we can do that on behalf of the artists and say, look, we can't tell you to do something or not do it, but from our research, this new event we have a degree of confidence or not, then hopefully that will help. And that's a situation which has come dynamically very quickly. Contractually as well, that's another thing. And most of us have worked in contracts for many, many years in entertainment and in other business aspects. So we're not in a position to give legal advice, but we are in a position to be able to start conversations with people to say, maybe here are some basic things to look out for. What is a contract? What isn't a contract? What's one-sided? What's fair to both parties? But those things are the next level of refining the education curriculum, I think, come from two different avenues. One is the dynamic events that we can respond to, which we're already working on. But the others is these networking discussions that Morag just highlighted, in getting the themes out of real groups of members, of people, saying, okay, we can see here that of 20 people we spoke to on this group, 9 or 10 of them had this issue. Right, that's definitely something we need to address. And then we can move from don't know what we don't know to now we know what we don't know.
Yeah. There's so much to this. We could sit and talk about this for the whole day. Your first in-person event is on the 21st of May.
Indeed.
With Hayley Jensen. It's a songwriting workshop, which I think is going to be pretty awesome, because she's quite an artist.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then every month you have a networking event, which is Monday. Will this be going out before Monday, DC? No.
Tomorrow? Probably. It can be. It shouldn't be that hard.
Okay, well, there you go then.
We do have another
tonight,
We do have another one on the 19th of May, which will be about festivals, and we've got a panel of festival organisers coming along to talk to us about what it is they look for, how to get on festival playlists, and then we will develop that, because even from that we're already thinking there are a number of different topics that we can start to build out, like how do you prepare for gigs, and in particular festivals, because festivals are a different beast.
To just do your own gig, because you
yeah.
can phone up a pub and say, I want to do a gig.
Yeah, and you're there for an hour and a half, rather than your half-hour slot on a festival that you're maybe in between two other acts that you've got to get on and off stage. PDQ.
I would sit here and chat all day, because
But we have artists to listen to.
we have artists to listen to, we have a festival, we have the sunshine to enjoy, and I need to pee. So,
I'm hoping that's not going to be in there.
no,
We don't cut anything.
he'll leave that in.
TMI.
He'll leave that in. He'll definitely leave that in.
I'll bleep it so they wonder what you're saying.
For more information on the UK-CMA, no, see if I get this right. UK-CMA.
You got it.
UK-CMA.com for more information and for membership details and just for information. But as John said earlier on, there's no risk in joining. Join, come along, find out about it, educate yourself, and then you can make your own informed decisions. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Moho Session hashtag. We're taking it on the road.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.